Hey guys, so recently the world of FPV, first person view droning, has just absolutely taken off in the world of filmmaking. And when you see these types of shots, it's no wonder why. And I am one of many who have recently taken up this hobby. I'm still a beginner though, like very early stages, but I thought it would be fun to kind of track my progress as I go along. So today is going to be episode number 1. So today I just kind of wanted to talk about my progress up until this point. And this is going to include the gear I used, like simulators, what drone I have, what goggles, remote control, everything, and then also kind of what I've learned about the hobby up until this point. And maybe a few of these things will help you along the way as well. I'm going to start from the very beginning, and I'm going to try and do it pretty quick just because a lot has happened since I first started this. So first off, I bought this controller, and links and names will all be in the description, but it's a FlySky brand, and that's it. That's all I bought to start out with. I bought the simulator FPV Freerider, and I kind of just started mostly doing that with the controller for about 2 months, and that's all I did. I didn't fly a drone at all. Pretty much just went straight into the simulator and just got comfortable with the controls and everything. After I got comfortable and I really knew that this was a hobby that I wanted to get into, I went ahead and I bought a drone and a better controller. The drone and controller that I chose was the TBS Oblivion, and the controller I bought was the TBS Tango. I also bought a Crossfire RX just to link those two together. The reason I bought this gear is because 1, it was recommended to me by my brother, and 2, because it's a ready-to-fly model and you don't have to do any programming or go into beta flight at all to actually get this thing up in the air. So once the controller and drone finally got to my house, I immediately linked them up and took them out to fly. And I did 1 practice run, landed, took it up for a second time, and kind of crashed, kind of not. What I think what happened was the grass was wet and it got into my board and actually fried some of the circuits. And so what ended up happening is my flight controller got destroyed, and I don't mean flight controller, I mean like the chip in my power cube, which kind of tells each propeller and stuff what it is supposed to be doing. 3 of my propellers would spin and the 4th would not. That 4th circuit was fried. So there's really nothing that you can do except replace that FC inside of your power cube. And so over the last few months, I've been talking to TBS, Team Black Sheep's support team, and we've kind of been figuring out what the problem is. Finally, we figured out that that's what the problem was, and I was sent a new FC to replace. And after a ton of hours of trying to figure out how to get this flight controller connected and working right so it's telling the rest of the drone what to do, I finally got it working, and I finally got it up in the air about a week and a half ago. And since then, I've just been pretty much trying to go out every single day and fly the drone. Trying to get as much practice in real life on the drone as possible. So now that we're at the present time, I think I'm just going to go over all my gear one more time, and then we're going to go out and do some flying. So I decided to come out here to Red Rocks. I've never really flown outside of like a football field or a soccer field really. So this will kind of be a test for me as far as like my skill level goes. But anyway, there's some really cool rocks around here and some really cool trees, but it's also a really wide open kind of field. So that kind of minimizes, when I do crash, the damage that it'll do to the drone. But other than that, I'm kind of excited to get it up and flying now. So now we'll just kind of go through my gear. So first we'll talk about the drone. And I fly with the Oblivion, as I mentioned before, but it's a pretty much ready to fly kit. So right when you get it, you can pretty much just take it out and fly. And I think that's why I got it as opposed to building my own, is just because of how easy it is from like shipped to delivered to up in the air. So there's really no time in between that you have to spend on beta flight or BL heli really doing anything or configuring anything. So that's why I went with the Oblivion. Next, the remote I'm using is the TBS Tango. It pairs super well with the Oblivion. So that's why I use this. And then I just have the crossfire receiver for it, and that just kind of snaps in right here. And from that, you're ready to fly. So next we'll go into batteries. I just used some 1500 mil amps that I got off Amazon. They're like $40, I think, for 2 of them, which for these batteries is a pretty good price. And then the camera I'm using is the GoPro Hero 7. I've never actually done this with the GoPro on it, so I'm really curious to see how the footage looks. It'll be pretty exciting to see that hyper smooth in action on an FPV. So yeah, I'm kind of done talking. Let's just get this thing up in the air. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is the goggles that I use. I use these really cheap eSheen goggles. They're only like $80, but as you can see, they're not super durable, which for me is pretty important. But I'm looking to upgrade. I think I'm gonna get some Fat Shark goggles. I don't know the exact model, but I'll put a picture of it and I'll put the name somewhere along right here. The reason I have these is basically I bought most of my gear off of my brother once he was kind of ready to move on to kind of get some better gear. I'll wait for the wind to stop real quick. And anyway, once he was done with it, I got a pretty good discount from him, so I ended up just pretty much buying all of his gear. This is what he kind of started out on, and so I figured, you know, seeing like his clips now, I figure if he can start out on something as not so great as these ones, then pretty much anyone can. So now we can just get this thing up in the air. I'm dying to get it up here. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. I wanted this episode to be pretty quick. I kind of wanted to just do like an introduction into my progress into the hobby. And I kind of wanted to make this a series. I think it'll be fun to kind of track my progress and maybe look back in 6 months and just see where I was at. And hopefully I'll be better by then, you know, maybe not. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Later.